Hello and very welcome to this edition of Community Voices Uganda on Civic Space TV. I am Phillip Muliisa. I thank you so much for joining us, you, the people on my panel, but also our viewers out there. I thank you for being very loyal clients of Civic Space TV and indeed Community Voices Uganda. Today, before we get into our conversation, there are a couple of stories that are making headlines in the world. And if you look at here in our country, Uganda, you have mainly everywhere they're talking about Dr. Kiza Besigye and he's being in prison and the processes he's had to undergo through the transition from the General Court Martial and the ruling that came in from the Supreme Court, and certainly getting this side where he's being presented at the High Court. And many keep raising concerns about his health status and many other things around that. And when you leave the country and go to the continent, we know just a few days ago, the election of the African Union chairman of the commission happened in Addis Ababa. We know His Excellency Ali Yusuf from Djibouti won that election, and it was very close to us Ugandans and East Africans because we had a candidate there from Kenya, the Honorable Raila Amolo Odinga. He lost that election, and another candidate from Madagascar. But that is the situation. We also know that we have a new chair of the African Union, His Excellency Joao Lourenco from Angola, and when you leave the continent, we know that at the global scale, some of the stories making headlines is the ceasefire deal that is underway in Gaza. We've seen Hamas release hostages and Israel releasing prisoners over a couple of 3 weeks now. We also know that talks to bring the war in Ukraine to an end are also underway in Saudi Arabia, Russia, delegations from Russia and the United States of America out there, and we hope that war is also going to be concluded in the next very few days or weeks or months. Briefly, that is what is making headlines across the world. And we'll come back here to the conversation. Today, we are discussing the education sector, and we know the Uganda National Examinations Board did release results from primary leaving examinations and indeed the Uganda Certificate of Education from last year. They are out there, and very many stories and conversations and reactions have been there to that effect in terms of the people from the new curriculum having their first release, people from the old curriculum, people getting into A-level and they don't know what to do, the grading system, and so many other conversations, but also generally a couple of changes, a couple of new things are being implemented in the education sector as were recommended by the Uganda Education Policy Review Commission. We want to make sense of these new activities, events, policies that are being put in place in this particular sector and see, are they the good ones? Do we need to wait a bit? Have we delayed already? What are we supposed to be doing as a country to make sure our education actually counts and produces the people we need to have as a country to progress? Joining me in that conversation is a fan of distinguished citizens of this very beautiful country, Uganda. And before we get into the depth of the conversation, you will talk to us and greet our viewers, and indeed later we get into the conversation. I'll start with Mr. Stuart Mugabe. Mr. Stuart, greetings. Welcome to the conversation.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muliisa. I'm happy to be here once again and to discuss issues that concern our country, that concern our youngsters, our generation, actually. Because these young people are our Uganda of today, and therefore it is important for us to discuss on how they are progressing and what they are consuming. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mugabe, and we really appreciate the time and the views you always share in this conversation. Thank you for being with us, and we can't wait to hear what you have to share with us. Next, I'll hear from Mr. Hannington Mayanja. Hannington, you're welcome to the conversation. Greetings.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muliisa. I'm extremely grateful to be on this platform to share ideas on the current trends in our education system, especially the new curriculum, looking at our colonial past and historical background. I think we had lagged behind for many years. and we are still locked into the past. But finally, we have something that seems to appeal to the challenges of the day. And I can't wait for us to delve deeper as we try to discuss this topic. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayanja, for joining us. And indeed, we can't wait to hear from what you have to share with us. Priscilla, you're welcome to the conversation. How are you?
Okay, thank you so much, Muliisa, for the opportunity granted. My name is Priscilla Amuge, a teacher by profession, and I'm happy to be part of this panel as we are going to digest most of the issues that is related to our education, and being that education is a right for everyone, a right that everyone needs to be given to. So we believe that we shall try our best to make sure that our viewers enjoy the conversation. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Ms. Amuge Priscilla, for joining us. And last but not least, Miss Emily Namalwa. Greetings, welcome to the conversation. I think Miss Emily has connection challenges, but we shall continue with the conversation, and we will engage her as she tries to settle. Miss Emily, you can hear me? I think we shall allow her time to settle in and organize our connectivity as we continue with the conversation. I want to start with, let me start with you, Mr. Mayanja. Look, the education sector, and in your introduction, you did mention something very important. You say we have a system that seems to appeal to the challenges of the day. Let's start there. What are the challenges of the day? And when you make such a statement, appealing to the challenges of the day, what are you trying to mean? Yes, Mr. Mayanja.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muliisa.
Yes, I can hear
when you look at, can I be heard now?
Yes, please continue.
When you look at the way the world is moving globally, the world is moving at a very fast speed. And most of the challenges that hamper the developing countries like Uganda, first of all, they have to do with technology. Technology is moving at a very fast pace. Two, if you look at the social lifestyle of the people, it is also moving at a very fast speed. The changes are so many, politically, economically, and there's a high speed at which we are witnessing cultural changes. So as a country, I think we had lagged behind for a long time, trying to look for an education system that could be able to prepare an individual who is ready to fit in this kind of setup. That's why I am one of those people who highly embrace the new curriculum. Number one, it does not only try to address the academic aims or targets that a parent or a child may have, but it also looks at developing a person who is holistic, has clear career goals, has clear life skills, somebody who is dynamic, and somebody who can ably fit into the society we live in today because of the trend at which things are changing. Why am I saying so? If we look at the workforce, the previous education system could only prepare somebody through rote learning. So most times you would get a workforce that you have to take like a full year, 2 years to prepare them to fit in the system. Then what the new curriculum is trying to say is say, no, let us come away from there. Let us prepare a person who is an entrepreneur. That when I employ in my school as a teacher, you're not simply a teacher, but you are more than a teacher. What else can you offer to the system? Do you have any vocational skills? Because we need people who are creative or innovative, a society that is self-sustaining. That's one of the ways you can be able to address some of the biggest challenges we have, like unemployment. because everyone is looking at the government to create jobs. Everyone is looking at the small private sector to create jobs. Yet, we have not yet reached a self-sustaining stage as a country that we can cater for every citizen. Citizens must also come up and cater for themselves and help the government, offer government a helping hand of how to create these job opportunities. Then the issue of digital literacy. We can't be in analog forever. That's why the new curriculum is saying, no, let us integrate ICT, because ICT is the way to go. As people are going to the moon, as people are going to Mars, we should get away from the village and move together with the world, because it's now ICT that runs the world. That runs the world. If you look at Facebook, WhatsApp, everything is being run by ICT. Then it also tries to promote the values that were dying amongst the Ugandans, things like patriotism. That's why we are grappling with issues of corruption, issues of greed, issues of maybe when somebody becomes an MP, when somebody becomes an LC1, people don't want to leave because nobody bothers that the country matters. Everyone thinks about himself and his children, his wife, and husband. So this education is trying to give that kind of patriotic element, to build it, to instill it, that can we produce a breed that is different. Then also offering leadership skills. We need a new breed of leaders. People who are dynamic, people who can think outside the box. It's the reason the new curriculum is emphasizing generic skills. We have critical thinkers. We have who are analytical. We have people who are observant, people who are innovative, inventive, because those are the problems that are killing us as Africa, especially as a country. Those are the things we need to unlock. That's the potential we need to unlock amongst our young children. Maybe finally, if I look at on the social level, there is need to promote social cohesion and inclusivity, because society has changed. Our demands, our likes, our problems have changed. People have started from different countries, China, Europe, Latin America. So they come with different ideas. How do we create a cohesive society that is inclusive? How do we foster environmental awareness and sustainability? Because before you define the syllabus, they're talking about parts of a leaf, a fish. The rate at which the environment is being destroyed, that's a problem which is pertinent, which must be addressed. How do we address such issues? Fostering environmental awareness, how do we sustain it? Global citizenship, cultural awareness. We are preparing somebody not for only Uganda, but for the entire world. That even if you're in Uganda, even if you're in Egypt, even if you're in Brazil, you can fit there. Yes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Mayanja, for that really detailed submission about this particular, specifically to the new curriculum. And I think you give a comprehensive understanding of how it is dealing with the challenges of the day. Mr. Mugabe, Stuart, let me hear from you. Look, Mr. Mayanja tells us that the education system we've had for a very long time does not address the challenges of the day. A few weeks ago, if not days, UNEB came out releasing results, and I can tell you, I interacted with a couple of parents at this level, and everyone was asking, what is this they are giving us? What people are being given results, the students did not know what the results were, the parents did not know. Everyone had to run to school to get to understand what was happening. If we are supposed to solve the challenges of the day, how do we transit from the old system to the new system without creating the kind of confusion we are seeing in society today, especially in the education? Parents overboard are saying we no longer understand what students are learning. Mr. Mugabe, help us. How are we supposed to handle this kind of situation, especially at the parent level, at the teacher level, and at the learner level? Yes, Mr. Stuart.
Thank you very much, Mr. Muliisa. I think you're the good thing you have used the word confusion. And indeed, there's a lot of confusion. And I'd like to appreciate and thank Mr. Mayanja for all the good things he has talked about the new curriculum. And indeed, for us who are even implementing it, we know that it is very good. It is a good weird curriculum. And we appreciate it. But I like to note that maybe and most likely our government was not ready to implement this curriculum. If you are implementing the curriculum, where do you begin from? Do you begin just bringing these good ideas Mr. Mayanja has talked about, critical thinking? We are not creating crammers. We are creating, problem solvers, people with creativity, with innovation. Who are the implementers? Who are the people who are going to teach or who are going to instruct these young ones in the new curriculum? Would have been trained, would have been prepared to manage this young generation we are dealing with. You can imagine, you are even mentioning that UNEB released the results. Teachers didn't know how to interpret them. Parents didn't know. Students themselves didn't know. Today, beginning with today, there is senior 5 selection. These head teachers are waiting to be told on how they are going to admit the first cohort of the new lower curriculum. And the whole thing is confusing. I want to tell you that why we even didn't understand the results. We've been preparing candidates not knowing how they will even be examined. UNEB didn't come on ground to train teachers. Please mark them like this and grade them like this. Apart from giving us samples of questions they would set. Please, because I think the government and the education ministry would have taken trouble to have some, ample training of these teachers to manage the process. I think to me, it was hurriedly done. It was hurriedly done, but when you look at it, it's a very good curriculum. It is a good curriculum, but the implementation is wrong. Look at our learners. If you are going to, we are handling classes of 80 learners, 1 teacher. In this curriculum, you need more instructors to manage the needs of these. If you are going to instill skills and values into these learners beyond academics, you need a lot of staff to manage these big numbers of students, which UNEB didn't do, which the ministry didn't do. To me, the implementation is still a very big challenge. That's why we are seeing things coming. And right now, what is going on in schools? Schools are now running to teachers who went and marked to tell us how was the marking done. Really, UNEB would have come and trained teachers. We expect you to, to create, maybe to make items like this, score them like this, and we expect to mark like this. But imagine schools like in the rural villages who can't even access these examiners. What will they do? To me, that is the confusion which we are grappling with, and we need to come out of it. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stuart. I think he has just given us breaking news. UNEB, if I should say, did not do enough in terms of making sure even the trainers themselves have enough knowledge of what they're supposed to be doing in implementing these new policies in terms of the new curriculum and how it is graded and how everything is put together to make sure we have the product we desire to get from the curriculum. Thank you so much, Mr. Mugabe, for that. And we continue to probe that and see how we can get out of here. I want to pick from you, Amuge. Talk to me, how is the situation like at your school in Bukede? How is the situation like, and Are you people understanding the things the way they are done? Are the parents understanding? Are the children understanding? And how is it moving? Yes, Priscilla.
So I'm not going to deny the fact that when the results were first released, we kind of had a lot of confusion, and as you know, some parents were calling, my child has this and that. What is this? They expected the old grading system that they were used to in terms of the aggregates. But then this time on, the change in the curriculum and then the change in the grading system, where we are looking at something of competence-based, we are looking at what a child or what a learner does better or performs the best at the end of the day. So first of all, understanding the results on the parent side was something that was quite chaotic, that others had to come to school to come and find out how many their kids have scored. Others even wanted teachers to like try to grade it in terms of aggregates. Okay, if you're telling me that my son has an A, what estimation would an A be? Is it a 80? Is it a 90? So literally there was that kind of challenge. Then to some teachers that maybe too didn't have the knowledge, because some really had to admit that truth is I'm not familiar with this kind of grading. They had to admit, but now as a school or as an institution, we know parents hold us accountable for whatever kind of achievement they do contribute to. So even if that kind of confusion was there, a roundtable sitting was made and then results were analyzed in different schools within the district. And later schools were able to tell parents how their children have performed, what the grading A, B, C, D, E tried to mean, whether there's children can come for A level, can go for vocational training or courses, or can come back and, resit, maybe go back to senior 3 and then wait to sit with the next lot in the next year. So though it is quite challenging, we believe that with time, as time goes on, parents are going to get familiar with these grading systems and they will be able to understand why the son has an A, a B, or a C in this particular subject. And I believe that with them, we shall be familiar with it. Because if you're to this grading, it's something similar with what we are having in A level. Only that people had not critically taken time to analyze how the A level results are. Because now A level talks of the points. But if you look at the grading, it's not kind of different, because even in A level, we have the gradings of A, B, C, and D, though they do not actually mean the same as what we are having in the competence-based curriculum. Yes, Phillip.
Thank you so much, Priscilla, for that. And certainly, I hope things get to improve for the better in that particular environment, especially given you have roundtable discussions to analyze and interpret all these new developments in this sector. Madam Deputy Mayor, I want to hear from you. You see, in everything we do in our societies, it comes back to you, the leaders. When we blame UNEB, we blame you equally, the leaders, in not doing enough to make sure things are proper and in line. Talk to me, how is the situation like in Mbale City, and did you get such complaints in your offices about the new curriculum and how it is being implemented, or perhaps the results themselves from UNEB? Yes, Emily. Well, we shall get back to you as you try to settle in with your network, and certainly we shall pick your thoughts and views about this particular topic. I want to come back to you, Mr. Mayanja. Look, you did mention the couple of things we are trying to solve in this country in implementing this, and Mr. Mugabe here did re-echo them when you talk about creating problem solvers in our society and all these other beautiful things, the technological advancement and so many other things you talk about. But look, when you implement something and on ground, everyone seems not to be understanding that particular thing, are you creating any value in society? Mr. Mayanja, is the Ministry of Education creating any value in implementing this particular policy in our schools and indeed the entire society? Yes, Mr. Mayanja.
Thank you very much, Mr. Moderator. I talked about the issues of what the new curriculum is bringing on the table. I want to appreciate the fact that Uganda is a third world country. And I will start by looking at the budget for the education ministry. The budget is very small. The funding is inadequate. Like, especially if you go to the user schools, use UPE, you find that there's a lot of problems. Even many private schools are struggling. But as a country, we cannot wait to first get enough funding before we kick off. There must always be a beginning point. There are so many challenges with the new curriculum, but I don't want to focus on the challenges and forget the goal in it. So let me try. What the government has decided to do is to start. Let us start something. It will be with a lot of challenges, but along the way, it will keep on improving, because you must know we are not America, we are not UK, we are simply Uganda. Our budget is small. It is sustained mostly by foreign funding. Technology is very expensive. Even big companies that can use it struggle to maintain it and sustain it, but we need to start. Because at no single time shall we as a country ever have enough money. So let the schools grapple with the one computer they have, with the two computers they have. We shall keep on. After every passing year, you add one, you add two. But at least you know that out of 100, you're going to be able to bring out one Ugandan, two Ugandans who are going to be instrumental in steering the dynamic change we require as a nation. Because the moment we wait for us to get the funding, then we shall be at the same level for even the next 50 years.
Mr. Mayanja, another person would say that perhaps there is funding that could contribute to the effect of making sure those particular resources we need are available, the computers, the machines, and so on. But government is actually not prioritizing this particular sector to make sure they provide that. How do you respond to that?
I wouldn't say the government isn't prioritizing this sector. What I would think that our government, I think the problem may be either stemming from parliament. It does not know how to prioritize the budgeting. Because when this budget is being made, it goes through several hands. And all the hands this budget goes through are stakeholders in this nation. They are either parents, they're either teachers, they're either political leaders, what? So each one has at least a slight input. Therefore, if you look at like the training that took place for the teachers when the new curriculum had just got, you never got some funding, even national curriculum and national curriculum for development center. But the money was little. That's why each department, they would pick only one. And sometimes the one you would send will not be good enough to acquire enough knowledge to train the others. He tells you, I went there, but I did not understand anything. So that becomes a challenge. Because
yes,
so
thank you, Mr. Mayanja.
That became a big problem, yes.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm going to engage you more a little later. Thank you. Emily, you can hear me now?
Yes, Philip, I can hear you.
Yes, thank you so much. You're welcome to the conversation. I want to pick your thoughts about the new curriculum, and certainly in Mbale City, how was the reaction to the release of results from the Uganda National Examinations Board, and is everything okay in Mbale? Emily, if you can try to be a little louder, please.
First of all, good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Emily Namalwa, and also I'm Namalwa Emily, Deputy Mayor, Industrial Estate Division, Mbale City. Hello, Philip. Philip, can you hear me?
Yes, I hear you. I do hear you, Emily.
The
Please
results,
continue.
yes, the results came in and it was like a shock to most of us. And on various social media platforms, it was the topic of that day. Others were saying these A-level results, we were expecting O-level results, now we are seeing A-level. But with time, when the explanations came in like that, people now started understanding it. So for now, they're still talking about it, but most of the people are now understanding. And my take on this, I will also rhyme with some of the panelists that UNEB had prepared. The students have been knowing this, but I think at last they did not prepare people well to know how they are going to grade the final results. And as a government, I know we have various challenges, but these are things that we have to put into consideration before the release of the exams. How are we preparing the general public to receive these results? Than someone calling a teacher that my son sat for senior 4, but I'm now seeing the results for senior 6. There's a mix-up somewhere. So we are just requesting that in the coming results, because now if they are going for senior 6, same people, how are they going to grade senior 6? So we shall be engaging with various stakeholders to see that at least they will sensitize the public before, so that will not get a backlash like the one we got after the release of the senior 4 results.
Right.
Otherwise, with the system in general, it is a good one. It is a good one because in my area, I have a young boy who did that same curriculum, and the project that he submitted there is now the one he's doing as a business throughout his then my twin brothers, for them, they're just in senior 3. But what they're learning at school, shoe polish, they can make chalk, they can make carpets, and these are the other things, and are the ones they study at school. So in general, the curriculum is okay, just that we need now to be sensitizing the people more on the grading system. Otherwise, for us, we
Thank you so much, Mrs.
have incorporated that vocational bit, and it is going to help us. You know, everything when it is starting. Oh, okay. I was just finishing up that anything when it is starting, it is always difficult for people to understand. But with it is, that is my take. Thank you.
Yes, thank you so much, Mrs. Namalwa, for that very good submission. And
Yes, Philip.
thank you so much. And I appreciate your submission there. Mr. Mugabe, I want to come back to you. Look, we now have graduates from the lower secondary level in that new curriculum, but government, the latest they have said is they are not ready. They do not have the resources to start implementing the new curriculum at advanced level. How are we going to get these new products from a new curriculum into an old curriculum and system at A level? Do we do any good to these people? We've simply wasted the effort we put at lower secondary. Yes, Mr. Mugabe.
Thank you very much, Philip. I'd like to continue using your word, confusion. And though Mr. Mayanja is trying to put some cosmetic clothing on whatever is going on, I like to insist and say that the new curriculum is very good, extremely good. Ugandans, we are known of making very good policies. Someone was telling me from Rwanda the policies they are using are from Uganda. We make policies, we put them on paper, and they never work. We don't even implement them. We are good desk officers who sit down and write a very good article, a very good report, we have no implementation plan. I'm a teacher. No, I want to ask Mr. Mayanja. I wonder whether he's a commissioner or is a teacher himself. Let's go to our schools now. Let's go to our school and we see how we are implementing this curriculum. When the curriculum came on board, we all embraced it, even without being trained. That was even after COVID. And we looked at the information they had written. We had, especially like good schools, like I want to say I come from a good school. And we began reading and we began implementing hard way, even without resources, even without training. Then the issue was we must give an exam at the end of the year. One exam. But you go to school, Phillip, now. We have gone back to complete to real testing. If you don't test these learners, they will not even pass. When you look at the setting which was done, really, I want to ask Mr. Mayanja, really, were they testing skills? Were they testing generic? Which skills were they testing? We are going back to academics. It's implementation itself right now. Many schools, we have gone back to the old curriculum. We are teaching using the old method for children in the new curriculum. That's why I want to say that the implementation had very many challenges. I want to appreciate that resources are never enough and they will never be enough. But the way we said, you can't kickstart something without a force. You must begin with a force to reckon on in order to implement something. Otherwise, you are destined to fail. You can imagine right now, these learners have spent 4 years. The NCDC knew that we have the first cohort of the new curriculum people coming out. The ministry is aware. We are now going back, taking back these children who were taught during using the methods of the new curriculum into the old curriculum. And we're writing on water, and we're watering down what we implemented, what we began. So what is that? What are we doing to these children? What are we doing to our country? So me, I still think that we can have minimal resources. We can begin with minimal resources, but we do a good thing. So the government is now really taking its baby steps. They are talking about we are going to make the subjects at A level abridged and whatever, but we are still using the old method to teach these A level students. So me, I think really we need to have, as Ugandans, let us plan something and prepare for it and implement something in a proper manner. I'm not saying that we are going to train all the staff, all the members, all the teachers in this country, but we can begin small and end somewhere. Now, you see the confusion now. We are now teaching, we've been teaching these learners using the methods of the old or new curriculum. Now we are going back to real old curriculum. What have we done? What are we coming? Which product is coming out at the end of senior 6? So may God really help us. That's why you see, by the way, most of the pushers of this new curriculum even don't have their own children in this new curriculum. That's why the international schools are cropping up in Uganda. They're even becoming many, because the method we are using is almost of the international schools. And if you get extra money, you take your child to an international school. That's why we are living in the era of survival for the fittest. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stuart, and that is quite a hefty, sad submission in terms of us washing and putting our clothes back in the mud if we cannot have continuity in terms of implementation of this, but also making sure there is a force to put this particular policy into practice. But I want to hear from you, Priscilla. Look, one of the other proposals we have in this new policy is such that nursery or pre-primary education be reduced from 3 years to 1 year, and that should start at 5 years from the normal 3 years. Your thoughts on that? Is it a good thing to start these babies late at age 5 and having 1 year in pre-primary before they join primary, which also is proposed to be going for 6 years instead of the current 7? Your thoughts on that particular improvement or change in that particular policy? Yes, Priscilla. I think Priscilla is not hearing me, but we shall get to her as she gets to connect better for this conversation. Emily, if you're still with me, I want to hear your thoughts. Reduction of the years people spend in primary school from 7 to 6, reduction of the years of pre-primary nursery from 3 years to 1 year, and having the baby start education at 5 years, not the current 3 years. Your thoughts on that? Is it a good idea? Is it a bad idea? Kindly, if you can change, if you can move a bit, your network is quite very
Phillip,
cagey. If you can.
hear you.
Emily, I don't seem to
Can
get
you
you
hear
so well. I
me?
think. Yes, that's good. That's good. Please continue.
You can, when I listened
Yes,
to
please.
that report, there were things I was quoting as they are going to be to affect me now. How Philip?
I do hear you.
I'm sorry about the network. I'm with this side of Luakaka and my network is getting Safari.
Oh, I think we lose you once more, but we shall have you as you join us later. Emily, you can hear me? Please, we shall have you as you get to settle your network. I know that part of the country is not very well connected. Emily, you can hear me?
Yes, Philip, I can hear you.
Yes, please continue.
Yes, I was saying that I personally listened to that report, and like I was saying, some things are going to be good, while others are going to affect most of the parents who had gotten used to dumping their children. Let me call it dumping, because someone gets a child of 4 years, 5 years, takes the children to boarding. And at that age, from day 1 to about 5 years, children need the care and love of their parents. Just that nowadays we are in the hustle, looking for money, we are forgetting our role for parenting. So personally, as an advocate for children and child care, me, I would appreciate that would really be good, that the children also have time to be with their parents. And for cutting the curriculum from 7 years to 6 years, that will also be good, because we shall be moving with the changing times instead of being stuck. Personally, I started my P1 in 1994, and now we are in 2025. As we are moving, the children we are producing, the grandchildren, why should we remain in the same system? I think we should move with the times, so that the children the children we are producing can also move with the moving world. That one I really appreciate. And then the section of boarding that you have not asked about, that you have to take a child to boarding when he's in P5, that one is going to affect many of us, because most of our younger women have left the children to go and look for money abroad. They have left the children with their parents, with other relatives. They see the option of putting them in boarding so that they come here in holidays only is the best option for them. So I really think maybe they would say boarding would start from primary 3 instead of nursery P1, P2. But from the other good of P5, I think it is going to affect many of us. Otherwise, I'm in support for nursery P5 and also stopping in P6. I have no problem because you have to move with the moving world. That is
All right.
from...
Thank you. Thank you so much, Ms. Namalwa, for that. And I notice your disagreement is with the boarding section. You really want to, using your word, dump the children at school, at least in primary 3. Your thoughts picked, and hopefully they will allow you to dump them at that time. Priscilla, are you back with us? I think we can no longer have Priscilla. Maybe it's a connectivity challenge, but we shall have her back as and when she joins us again. I want to,
Yes, I can hear you.
yes, thank you so much. Now we've had the challenges. The challenges are quite many, and as far as I understand, there is no perfection to humanity. How do we move forward to see that we get the deliverables we look into achieving from this particular policy? How do we get people that are going to influence the demands of the current society, the social status, the values, creating jobs, and the many other things you talk about? Because the challenges seem to be of weighing the opportunities we set aside for this particular policy. How do we move forward in a better way?
Thank you very much, Mr. Phillip, Muliisa.
Yes.
Having looked at the challenges that are clouding this new curriculum and the good intentions, there is always a way how we can get out of this to make it better. If you look at one of the challenges is the training. The training has been inadequate, meaning the ministry, the government needs to do more to intensify the trainings of the teachers, to equip them with the skills to be able to administer this curriculum. And not only the teachers, but even the parents, because parents play an instrumental role in promoting the education of their children. So when you train the teachers, even the parents need to be sensitized so that they can offer that helping hand. If you look, you make some research, you decide that most of the children draw inspiration from their parents. So when the parents know what takes place, then they can be able to instill the right thing. Number 2, we have the challenge of student-teacher ratio. Like Mr. Stuart talked about the huge classes. This new curriculum requires you to follow up each child, identify their strength, identify their weaknesses, and be able to help them to become better. Now, it is very hard for somebody to do it in the current environment. If you go to senior 1, you have 100. You go to senior 2, you have 90. You go to senior 3, you have 100. You can never be able to offer a good service. At the end of the day, only a few students who are aggressive are going to benefit from the system, and many of them will be left out. Number 3, we have the issue of project work, because we are trying to promote innovation. But getting the finances to do some of the projects is very difficult, because most of these projects are funded by the students themselves, because schools do not have that extra budget. And then there are kids who come to with a very brilliant idea, but the idea they've come with, they need like 500,000, 200,000, a million, and this is a user school. You look at the background, the parents cannot afford that. So at the end of the day, you are forced to bury that idea and tell them, look for something you can do within your means. Then the other issue that even the teachers who teach these projects do not have the skills of how to teach innovation and invention. So you must equip them with knowledge in invention and innovation, because you cannot impart a skill that you do not have. Then number 4, this system requires you to follow up a child from senior 1 to senior 4, meaning you must track the records, the marks, the performance. And many of us in our schools, we have a poor data storage system. So if every time you'll be having issues, I've lost my marks, I can't see my marks for history, I can't see my marks for English. And then students keep on changing from one school to another. In one school where they were paying 500,000, he's unable to pay that money. He's going back to a school where they can pay 200,000. So transferring that information is also a big problem. So we need to address that. Number 2, the government also on a general scale should increase the funding for the entire education sector. And this funding is not only to address the scholastic needs of the learners, but even the motivation of the teachers. One teacher is getting 5 million, another is getting 600,000. Do you expect that the levels of performance in class are going to be the same? Definitely not. And that's why if you look at the recently released results, you'll be shocked that the marks of the students in science subjects are more or less the marks, like the marks of the students, the art subjects. Because even the ones we used to think that easy subjects, people have gone into mute mode. The performance level have gone down, the motivation is so low, so they no longer offer too much to help this learner excel. So those are some of the things we can do to address this.
Thank you, Mr. Mayanja, for those recommendations, and I hope they be picked up to see that we streamline this particular process. Priscilla, are you back with us? I'm sorry, we can't pick Priscilla. Mr. Mugabe, as I pick your final remarks. Look, there's been an underlying thought in the society that people who go for vocational education are people that have failed on this other part of the mainstream education. Do you see this particular the system we're implementing now, changing that mindset in our societies? And you know, again, the government of Uganda is running a policy on the other side of supporting vocational education. They have invested heavily in that particular area, including instituting an entire department, the Directorate of Industrial Training, UBTEB. All these institutions are put in place to cater for people who are majorly in that particular side of education. So is it not even a contradiction to be financing these improvements in the curriculum and at the same time financing another institution in the name of DIT and UBTEB to take care of the vocational institutions? Yes, Mr. Mugabe.
Thank you very much, Philip. And I think that one is a very big misconception that we have as Ugandans and even parents and educationists. That's why we need to really intensify career guidance. That's why we need to identify the skill of this child as early as possible. You see, if he loves music, is passionate about music, let us train and concentrate on his skill in music. We have seen musicians who are thriving. If he's good in agriculture, we shouldn't now use agriculture because people think if I give a child a hoe, then that's a punishment, and they also take it as a punishment. I appreciate and you see these things, Philip, are done somewhere in good schools, whereby the culture of the school really does that with a lot of they're intentionally doing it. I was telling some people, my daughter was at Gayaza High School for 6 years. And at Gayaza High School, a child goes in term 1, senior 1. They spend 1 month in induction. For us, when they come on Monday, Tuesday, we're in class teaching them. Okay? They are teaching them on how to knit their uniform. They are teaching them on how to manage agriculture. They know this girl must be having a garden in order to have a family. All those issues are done. They go for tours. They go and even help out with Gayaza Junior. So they are trained on how to manage a diary, how to use all these things. These skills are given to them. But for us, we think that if a child cannot manage maybe academic subjects whereby there was a lot of cram work, then they'd be pushed into mechanics, into what? I think we need to intensify career guidance, and we concentrate on where these children are passionate, the things they are passionate with to do. So that is one. And we have seen children actually who are becoming very successful with these skills. And to me, that's why I was even telling you about this new curriculum. It's a very good curriculum. But which research did they make that maybe people who are the graduates of the old curriculum have failed to make it in life? They are not creative. They are not innovative. Muliisa, I want to send you to Mengo SS, a very unique curriculum where they have woodwork, they have home economics, they have general science, they have electricity, they have TD, technical drawing. All these subjects we are providing, but many schools, because of funding, they can't even manage foods and nutrition, which is a skill which these kids come out with. So otherwise, even the old curriculum, there are those subjects that would give people skills, which we are trying to think that maybe are no longer important, and we are merging them. I think, to me, if we have no resources, we need to go back to the drawing board. Because I don't see the reason why we should really go teach this child for 4 years in the new curriculum. The 5th year, he or she goes the old curriculum. I want to tell you about the issue of Mr. Manja has told you about the new the projects we make and all sorts of things that are not really, that don't even materialize because of resources. But we even have another issue today whereby, because even about assessment, UNEB is assessing these learners using 80%. We are having at school what we call continuous assessment of 20%, whereby we are giving activities of integration to these learners and we grade them, and we give them around 20%. Many teachers you are going to find, because what is the integrity of our teachers? One time, actually, UNEB made a pilot project about, I think they are copying some idea from Ghana, and they wanted to implement continuous assessment. They began with mathematics, they began with physics, and our school here was selected, and I was actually coordinating that physics part as a director of studies. So what happened was a teacher would give marks even without thinking. So we have a challenge whereby I know my children, what I'm giving them is going to be examined by UNEB, is part of UNEB assessment. Why don't I give them higher marks? And we also appear in papers, because we are still competing, isn't it? Because at one time I used to hear that when we begin this new curriculum, the press will not be mentioning schools, the performance, but all the same, they are still grading these schools. So we have an issue of integrity of our staff and teachers, and even head teachers, on how they are going to manage this 20% of the results. There's an issue, Mr. Phillip, because he has mentioned all the other challenges we are having, student-teacher ratio, projects, skills, not training, and whatever. There's an issue of even the materials to use. And these are basically workbooks. We are teaching students using workbooks made by NCDC. I want to challenge us and even challenge parents. If you use that workbook, which we are using in class, to teach these learners, the way it's very extremely shallow. These books with pictures, these kids are appreciating pictures and whatever. These people can't pass any exam. So we go deep to look for more notes, because people thought maybe we would go and teach, not give notes, and these kids would pass. They would think and even make their own notes. We haven't reached that level. The workbooks given many schools, actually now teachers are called facilitators. You bring a workbook, the children read for you, then you add in some material, you got their books. Parents will be surprised that in some schools, these kids even don't have notes. They have nothing in their books. And if they have nothing, they can't even pass. So the workbooks are very shallow. That's why schools now, we have begun working on our own notes. to make sure that we make these students pass, which is tending to go back to the old curriculum. So to me, the curriculum is very good, is a very good idea, but I think we are not yet ready to begin to implement it. Thank you very much.
Thank you so much, Mr. Stuart Mugabe, for those amazing thoughts, submissions, and realities on ground that you share with us. And I don't know that, Priscilla, if you're back with us, I can give you a minute to give us your final thoughts. I think we lost Priscilla for good, but thank you so much, colleagues, for those views. Unfortunately, our time is very much fast spent. We have to be out of here. But once again, I want to thank you, Mr. Mayanja Hannington, for your time and for making time to join the conversation. We really appreciate that so much. Mr. Stuart
Thank you for
Mugabe,
hosting
thank you
me.
so much for your time and indeed for the thoughts you share with us. And indeed, we appreciate you so much. Namalwa, Emily, and Priscilla, Amuge, we appreciate so much your thoughts and the time you made for the show. And hopefully we can always have you. Special thanks to our viewers. Thank you so much for keeping it Civic Space TV and Community Voices Uganda. Special thanks to the technical team and special thanks to the Center for Constitutional Governance and all our partners out there that contribute to the progress of this work. From us, we say thank you, and we shall see you next time.